So Tommy, what was it like going through the installation process for Q.Home Core? I understand you actually helped with some of the installation yourself. Yeah, very cool, very cool. Now, what was your experience working with the Q-Cells app? What were some of the solar, battery, and equipment options that you considered before settling on the Q.Home Core system? Great. Well, now, I'm glad you mentioned that. So as somebody that had a solar-only grid-tied system first and then needing to retrofit battery storage after the original install, typically we would look for like an AC-coupled type of battery system for that. I'm curious, what are the other battery and solar panel or solar equipment options that you considered before settling on the Q-Cells?
Yeah, so my initial setup is an AC coupled, right? I have, it's already PV, so I was looking for an AC coupled solution. I also wanted to have the opportunity to grow my system in the future with as streamlined as possible. I have 2 children that, as they grow older, will start to use more power within the house. My wife is a stay-at-home mom, and she takes care of the kids at home, so we have electricity usage, not like the regular 9 to 5 low power and then evening time high power, morning high power. We have a constant load throughout the house. So I wanted to make sure that we were kind of using our power to the best of our ability. So when I was looking at options, EVs are in the future, so that's going to add quite a substantial amount of power that's needed in the home. Eventually it will be 2 EVs, so I wanted to try and plan ahead. So Q-Cells offers a true hybrid system, which is it has both AC and DC configurations within the inverter itself. So I'm able to utilize the current system that I have on my home, which is about 4.5 kW of AC power. And then in the future, as my family needs grow, I'll be able to add a DC system and tie it all in without it affecting my current rates.
So Tommy, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because having existing grid-tie solar panels on your house before you chose to install the battery storage, the hybrid system, what were some of the solar, battery, and equipment options that you considered before settling on the Q.Home Core system?
So Q.Home Core obviously was the option that I went with. I looked at multiple different solutions, including Franklin. I'm trying to think what else I looked at. The N-phase system itself, right? Because I had that on the roof in the microinverters. But what I was looking to achieve in regards to the DC coupling in the future with the AC coupling as current, the Q.Home Core fit the parameters as best as I needed.
That makes sense. I think this is probably a good teaching opportunity here. So when we talk about battery systems, a lot of times we're talking about AC coupled or DC coupled system, right? And that's basically saying, where does the solar and the battery tie in together? Is it on the DC side before the inverter, or is it on the AC side after the inverter? But when you look at some of the new generation energy storage systems like Q.Home Core, it's basically both. It supports both a DC coupled and an AC coupled configuration. AC coupled is great because you can retrofit to an existing solar system that you might have, but then if you want to expand, you can expand with DC coupled solar panels connected directly to Q.Home Core. Is that correct?
Correct, that's my understanding, yes. Yeah, so it just gives you a little bit of flexibility when it comes to your system size, especially to stay within certain regulations. You don't want to oversize your current system or you'll be put out of the rate that you're in now. So having the opportunity to grow your system on a separate system without affecting your initial install is really important, especially in California. So yeah, with Q.Home Core, it ticked all the boxes that I needed it to tick, and it makes sense, and it's a really nice install too. So it's super slim on the wall, you can fit it anywhere. We have it on the side of our home, and it doesn't affect walkways. Yeah, it's great.
Now, how important was it for you to have the lithium iron phosphate chemistry compared to some of the older battery chemistries?
I mean, you read a lot of stuff online about what's going on with batteries. Are you referencing like old lead acid batteries as opposed to new lithium batteries?
Well, I guess that would be the older, but like even the older lead acid, probably the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
But even some of the older lithium batteries, I know there have been some issues with overheating and things.
Yeah, I mean, ideally you want to go with the safest battery that's on the market. You're putting this in your home. Your family lives in that home. You want to make sure that the safest configurations of batteries are there for you to protect yourself, protect your family, protect your neighbors, and you're also getting the best like research and development teams on these products. So you're making sure that you're getting the best of the best. If you go back to lead acid, you can utilize 50% of that battery. With these lithium batteries that are coming out, you can get up to 95% depth of discharge on those. So, I mean, ideally, that's where you want to be. It would be a little bit silly in this world, where, like, to say, hey, you're going to pay X amount for a battery, but you're only going to be able to access half of it. It's like,
right.
You know, you want to be able to get 90%, 95%. Yeah, and that's kind of what we looked at.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a difference too. You know, back from when I started doing solar battery systems, a lot of them were for backup purposes only. So you're only really going to cycle the battery if it was an emergency, if there was a grid blackout. But you know, now with NEM3 and with different time of use programs, I mean, a lot of times these batteries are going to be used to some extent every day. Now, I'm curious, the way that you have your system configured, are you using it for backup only, or do you use it on a daily basis for rate optimization?
I have it set up to where it is set up for both optimization, like use on my house, and then a small amount for backup in case there's an outage. So my modules on the roof charge my battery, and then from 2 o'clock in the afternoon to 10 o'clock at night, my house is basically utilizing the power within my battery to the best of its capabilities. I think it's set to 25%. So when it gets to a 25% threshold, it stops and it starts to pull back from the grid again. And I keep that 25% in the battery if any instance there's an outage throughout the night, and then that backs up my kitchen area, my living room area, and the refrigerator. I feel like when there's outages, which we don't have a whole lot of in Southern California, but if there is, people are going to congregate in one room. So in some aspects, if you don't need to have a whole home backup, you don't have to. If you can do it, fantastic. If you don't have that opportunity at the time, then to have a partial whole home, at least back up your refrigerator and the main areas of your house. The last thing you want to do is have an outage and then have to replace everything in the fridge. So that's my thought process on it. There's a value there to that. And when I was researching product and I was looking at different configurations, that was part of my thought process.
That makes sense. No, that makes sense. Especially here in sunny San Diego. I know,
Yeah.
You know, the temperature or the climate here is so temperate that you don't necessarily need to have your central air conditioning running on backup. And if you do it that way, where you're doing critical items only, then you can get a lot more running time off your battery storage. How much battery storage capacity did you choose to install?
So I maxed out the Q.Home Core for the one inverter, so I have 20 kW.
20 kilowatt hour storage.
Yep.
Great. And then you say you set it to basically go 25% minimum, so you always have at least 5 kilowatt hours ready to go for backup.
That's correct. Yep.
Excellent. So Tommy, what was it like going through the installation process for Q.Home Core? I understand you actually helped with some of the installation yourself.
Yeah, I did. I quite enjoy learning new products, so I went through the Q-Cells Q.Home Core certification process, got myself certified to install the batteries, and then hired a C10 contractor to come out and help with all the electrical side of it. So yeah, I got the product shipped to my house, and then started working on it from there. Worked with the permits to figure out where to put the product, where it was best suited, and then I actually had to rerun conduit, so we had to take down our 3/4 inch conduit and put in 1.25 inch. Ran it about 40 feet down the side of my house, put 20 kW on the wall with the hub, with the previous AC coupled combiner and a sub panel, and tied it all into a gutter box. And again, the electrician done all of that, so it was great to put the product on the wall and then kind of sit back and watch as they work their magic. So it was cool. It was cool to see. Process was very simple. Q.Home Core have spent a lot of time putting their making the ease of installation really simple for contractors.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. Now, what was your experience working with the Q-Cells app?
App is super simple. It's a really clean screen. It shows you your input, your output, where you can kind of shift your loads. And then they also work alongside an app called Built, B-I-L-T. And during the installation process, it's a game changer. You can basically go in and it has very detailed like line item by line item installation guide on how to install the Q.Home Core. So I was able to, if I ever had any issues, I was able to refer back to that app and basically say, I'm at this stage of the installation, and it would show you like the wiring of where exactly it needs to go, or what screw needs to be put in to solidify one battery to another on the wall. It was great. Yeah. So, both apps are fantastic. I use my Q-Cells app a lot, just to make sure that the product is working correctly and that I'm utilizing the power as best as I can. And it's very easy to read. And they notify you when there's updates. They notify you if there's anything going on with your system that you might need to be aware of. So yeah, so far, so good.
That's cool. That's cool. Now, of course, most homeowners are probably not going to get as hands-on with the actual installation process as you did. But what advice would you offer for maybe homeowners that are out there that are considering installing solar with batteries for their home? Maybe they're looking at different equipment options. What advice would you give them as far as, going solar with storage?
Always get 3 quotes. Make sure that you're aware of the contractors that are installing. Do your research, and it's important. You're putting this on your property, and you want to make sure that what you're putting on your property is effective and reliable. You also want to make sure that it's backed by a company that is going to be around to take care of your warranty issues, if there is any. Hopefully not. Just don't. I jumped straight into it, right? I done the install and hired an electrician to come out and kind of tie it all in. I enjoy doing that. If you don't want to do that, definitely, go towards the contractor bases. I highly recommend that. They're very good at their job. They're in and out within a day. They commission everything for you, and they're all certified. So, I definitely recommend, 3 quotes. Do your research. Make sure that the product that you're installing is applicable to your home. If you're in an area with high outages or high rollouts, blackouts, you want to make sure that you have a product that's up to the challenge of dealing with that. If you have a home that is in an area that has hardly any outages, you want to make sure that product is sufficient to handle your loads throughout the day, to minimize your exposure to rate changes or just price hacks on utilities. That's kind of it.
Great. Well, folks, this has been a brief chat with Tommy Dormer. We're here in San Diego, where solar in storage is still alive and healthy. I know a lot of things have changed now that the net metering 3 laws are in effect, but basically it just means battery storage is part of the solar equation now. It's no longer a unique or a niche thing. Batteries now are part of the mainstream if you're talking about residential solar here in California. Folks, as always, if you're getting good value from the information that you see here on Solar Surge, make sure you hit that thumbs up. And also go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. That way, as we have new programs like this coming out, it'll come up on your feed and you can stay up to date with us. Well, Tommy, is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience before we end today's podcast?
No, I'm pretty much set. I'm good.
Sounds good. Hey, thanks so much for spending some time with us. Folks, that pretty much does it for today's program. As always, I'm Joe Ordia here, encouraging you to get prepared and be empowered. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next program.